All right, good evening once again, and welcome to class tonight. So today is the 12th of 18, and here we are live and direct to continue with our projects on this particular section. All right. So this project we are talking about is a project on the customer order data. And so far, the parts to cover of this particular lesson has always been a meticulous one, from introduction to data analytics, data entry, formatting and organizing data, statistics for data analysis, basic statistics functions and formulas, Excel functions and formulas, and here we are entering into advanced Excel part 1. So you have 6 more days to go in our class session for this beginner series of Excel. And so far, so good. You are no longer a beginner, but now you are going to be called an intermediate Excel data analyst, because this part of advanced Excel is what is very interesting. So this time around, we are no longer going to be working with the customer's order sheet because we have exhausted all there is in that sheet. Yes, we've exhausted all there is in that. We use this sheet. We have used this sheet particularly to treat all the functions and formulas we can think of in Excel, including data and time function, test function, logical function, lookup and referencing, maths and trig function, or math and start function. So today we are going to focus on other parts of Excel, which is the advanced Excel. And here today we are going to be talking about conditional formatting first, followed by data validation. Conditional formatting first, followed on with data validation. So what is conditional formatting and how does it work? Well, conditional formatting is a tool in Excel that helps us to highlight and spot out trends in our data sets. It's a tool in Excel that helps us to highlight and spot out trends in our data set. Now, this helps us to see the different changes that happens in our data set, the variations that occur in our data set. That is what conditional formatting does. And the sheet we are going to be using for this is the employee record sheet. No longer will it be the customers order, but employee record sheet. All right. So here we are having just about 7 columns of data and about 23 rows in check. And we have different employee name, employee ID, position, state, zip, salary, 15% bonus as the column headers. So to begin, we are going to make these column headers have filters. So to add filters, we go to data pane, this button on the sort and filter option, sort and filter option over here. So click on this for filter, or you can use the shortcut key of Ctrl+Shift+L like we did when we are starting out, right? So this helps us to filter and easily look into our data set without so much of a worry and find out exactly what we have in this data set. So our conditional formatting, like we said before, is going to be focused on just numerical data, right? Numerical data, just like statistical functions focus on numerical data. Conditional formatting also depends on numerical data and is equivalent or similar to the if statement. Remember, it's a condition, meaning that there must be logic in it. So conditions get logic, right? So the logic in this particular data will help us to see how we can use them in our analysis. For instance, we have the logic of if statements like the ifs, if, and or, which helps us to understand what is happening in our data and also assign some levels to that data set. Now, for this employee record, now we're going to look into the salary column and the 15 bonus column. We are going to use conditions to spot out trends and also look out for pattern in our data. All right, so we are talking about trends and patterns. So whenever we talk about conditional formatting, we talk about trends, sporting art trends. So sporting trends and patterns, right? That's what comes to our mind whenever we talk about conditional formatting. So we are going to express all these as the case may be. So here in conditional formatting, we have about 5 rules we can use by default in Excel. Those 5 rules include highlight cell rule, top/bottom rules, data bars, color scales, icon sets. And in each of these 5 rules, we have a corresponding buttons and instructions for each of them. In the highlight cells rules, we have about 7 button options and instructions, including the greater than, less than, between, equal to. Then when we now want to work on the test variable, we use the test that contains. We want to work on date data type, we use dates occurring. When we want to look out for duplicates, we duplicate values. So you see, you can see this conditional formatting to find duplicate values in your sheets. Then for the top and bottom rules, we have equivalently 6 rules or instructions. Top 10 items, top 10%, top 10 bottom 10 items, bottom 10%, above average and below average. All these rules exist for us to harness. But we're not going to touch all the rules. We're only going to specify some rules which might be relevant to the objective of study. Then the next option is the data bars. How does this work? We are going to find out. There's gradient field, there's solid fields, there's color scales, and there's icon sets. All right. You can also put new rules, clear rules, or manage your rule. So let's start working with all these options at will. So we are going to first of all copy out the salary and the 15 bonus column, which is column F and column G. And we are going to be putting it under some cell highlights rules. So I'm going to have in cell highlights rules. So first of all, let's have highlights rule over here. Highlights rule, right? Then let's paste what we've copied. So copy again. And we are pasting the value. The values only. Paste again. Paste again. Paste again. Paste again. So in this highlights, we are going to be using at least greater than, less than, between, and equal to. Greater than, less than, between, and equal to, right? So the highlight value for this will be over here. So here will be greater than, here will be less than, here will be between. Then the next option will be for equal to. So we want to make it easy for us to understand how this play a role in what we are building. So greater than for this, less than for this part, here for between, here for equal to, while the general of them are all highlight cell rule, right? Fine. So let's begin. Let us begin. So let me quickly do this, 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 this. Fine. So let's look at cells greater than rule. Okay. So to apply a conditional formatting for a particular column, you need to highlight the entire range of that column. Then come to your conditional formatting on the Home tab. Under the Styles control ribbon, you see conditional formatting, right? Then click on it and choose the highlight cell rules. You are working on greater than, okay? Remember in the if statement or if logical statement or if functions, you use the function greater than or less than, also use equal to, all right? And that is amazing too. So click on greater than, and by default, Excel is telling you that any cell greater than 7865605.50 should be filled with a light red field with dark red text. That's default, right? That's by default. But we need to specify our own colors. We need to specify our own definitions, our own rule by ourselves. Here is the cells rule. We need to specify our own rule ourselves. And one thing that will help us to work perfectly well with conditional formatting is if we understand color theory. So I will encourage you to please look up the reading about principles of data visualization that discusses colors in visualizing data. By default, as humans, we know that green means positivity, it means quality, it means quality, positivity, and life. Then we see red, we talk about danger, warning, etc. When we see yellow, we talk about energy, we talk about getting ready, we talk about activity. When we see orange, we talk about light, hunger. Let me use that word hunger because most times if you go to fast food in the African region here, orange is always specified with most fast food. So I always see it as hunger color, but it's actually a form-fit color, very vibrant color as well for kids to use. So orange is still an energy-filled color, form-filled for both gender and also for different varieties of age. Then black is called an attitude. That's what it's called, although it is not a color, but it's called an attitude. So white is for peace to reign, and neutrality, yielding, etc. So different colors has what they mean. So when you are using conditional formatting in Excel, you must be conscious of the kind of audience you are dealing with. What are their kind of colors that resonate with them, depending on the region you are focusing on. That will help you to be a better person who understands conditional formatting as an advanced analytical tool. All right. So here in Africa, red is always meaning danger and warning. So we are not going to use red to fill this particular column. If you go to these color options here, Excel have extra 5 color options, such as yellow fill with dark yellow text, green fill with dark green text, red, light red fill, red text, and red border. Right? These are the default color settings that Excel has for you to utilize. But if it's not what you are looking for, you might want to choose a custom format. Right? So in this regard now, we are looking at cells greater than words, but we don't know what actually we are looking at. So we need to find out the class mark and class boundary of our data sets. Understanding this will help us, just as we did in the if statement, to know which particular locations or which particular axis we must apply whatever we want to apply. So here I'll insert a filter for this. Let me find out the class mark and class boundary. So over here, I click on the drop down. After adding filter, I notice that the list salary here is 47,211, while the highest is 110,000. So if I want to use conditional formatting here, I must understand this. All right. The next thing to do is to choose a particular range of data that will give me the result I'm looking for. In this scenario now, we want to paint the salary that is above 60,000 as a positive one, while the ones below 60,000 as a negative one, right? So below 60,000 will be around 59,000 below, while above 60,000 will be from 60,000 and above. So having notified this, can come back to our salary sheet, salary column, highlight it once again, go to conditional formatting, choose greater than, and then you say in this box now we can edit this man. So let me delete this and say any cell above $60,000. All right, any cell above it is greater than. Okay, so format cells that are greater than what $60,000, or I'll say greater than 59,000 because I want to say from 50,000 above. So format cells that are greater than $59,000 with what? We don't want to use the default green fill with that green text. No, we want to use a normal green fill only without that green text. So we click on the last option of color, which is custom format. and this format cells navigator comes out for us. So here we need to format the cells. First of all, the main thing is the field. So the field should be a green field. And once you put it up, a sample will show for you. Then we don't need a border. Then the font is okay by us, but the font color should be white so that it will not tamper with visibility. So we go to color of the font and choose white as the color. Then we are good to go. After that, we go to the sample again and see the sample said the men's green field, and the font color is white over here with the preview showing us here that is white. If you choose black, the preview also shows that is black. So we're choosing back white, okay? Then we click OK. Now you see that it has formatted it customly just as we want it to be, with the green field we want and the white text. Then we click OK. Now this is the formatting we need for this. This means that the green color is for any salary above 60,000, above 59,000. So I can come under here and I'll say for greater than, so let me copy this and paste it here. And so for greater than, salaries above $59,000 is colored green. So this will help anybody that was not with me when I was working with this data set to know what I have just done. All right. And in this essence, this is called visual encoding. Visual encoding. So let me just write it somewhere here. So this is called visual encoding. So sometimes it's called visual encoding. Some tests can call it legend. Some tests can call it color grading. So the terminology anyone is using is dependent on how best you understand it. All right. So this is called a visual encoding. For my own end, yeah, I call it visual encoding. I can still call it anything else I wish to call it, but I think it's the best language I can remember so far, which is perfectly fit for our project. Then the next is we said our salaries below $59,000 is colored red, right? So this should be salary cells. Salary cells above is filled with green. So let's use the data language. So salary cells above $59,000 is filled with green, while salary cells below 59,000 is filled with red. Right? Fine. That is just that. So with the help of this visual encoding, anybody that didn't know what happened there initially can see what happened here with this visual encoding we just have here, right? So we're trying to make it a little bit formatted. Fine. Now let's continue with the column salary again, and let us format for those that are less than 59,000. So to do that, I need to still highlight the column once again, go back to conditional formatting, and I'm going to use the less than. Are you seeing that by default to Excel has given me an option? So the less than option now. Okay, I should use less than option for here. Sorry about that. I have a less than option here. So less than option here. I use less than option here, and I'm using it for what? Less than $60,000. So you say above $59,000 from $6,000 and above is colored with green. Then less than 60,000, that means from 59 below, is colored with red fill. So let's use a custom. We're not using the default red fill here, no. We're using the custom red fill. So custom format, the font color first of all is going to be white. Then the fill is going to be a red fill, and we are good to go. So aside that, nothing else is left. You click on OK. And you see we have the red field just like we want it to be, and click OK. So we are coming to this greater than and put the visual encoding over here. We are naming this less than. Then we are copying this guy, cutting it off to this. So the visual encoding for less than says that any cell below 59,000, below 60,000, sorry, because we have 50,000, is filled with red, right? Awesome. So how do someone know that actually we use these conditions if the person don't want to see or look into the visual encoding we have? The way the person will do so, or for you, the analyst, to notice what someone has done here to understand what happened in it, is to select the column of choice and go to conditional formatting once again. When you go to manage rules, you see the rules that has been used on that column. So this rule is showing formatting for the current selection, which is the salary column of greater than. And it is, the statement is rightly said here. Rule is cell value greater than 59,000 applies to the entire column of choice. But now you want to see the entire sheet to know whether there's any conditional formatting rule for it. You can just come back to your show formatting rules for current selection. Click on the drop down arrow, you will see this worksheet, and it will show you the current formatting rule for the worksheet. And that is the two we already have for now. Less than 60,000 is from 59 down, and cell above 59,000 from 60 up. So these are just these. What if you want to stop the rule or delete the rule? You can just click on delete rule and the rule is out. You can still edit the rule if you wish to, or you can create a new rule. So these are the things you can do in this conditional formatting rules manager. So let's close and come back again. Let's now come to between. Now we are going to be using the bonus column for the between option. So we highlight the between bonus column for between. Then we go back to cells rules again and choose between this time around. Between what and what exactly are we looking at? Maybe we are looking at bonus between 10,000 to 20,000. We will now see the need to insert it in this option. So by default, when you put a cell will always, by default, gives you what it feels should be your range of values. So you, the analyst, knows what you're looking for, and you know what you're actually going to get as a result of whatever input you have. Hence, you must make sure you put in the accurate data value. So we are looking for salary bonus between $10,000 and possibly $20,000. Let's find out that with it. And we are going to be using the yellow field with dark yellow text for it. That's the default one for conditional formatting, and click OK. So you see that gives us a cell highlight for cell values that are between 10,000 to 20,000. What does it mean? It means that once it's 10,000, 10,001, 10,002, 10,003, till about 19,900, then it will show us, right? Between means that, but if you say within, that means you are looking at for 10,000 to 20,000. But if you say between, that means the 10,000 is the minimum value, while the 20,000 is the maximum value, showing the upper and lower and upper bound where we discussed it in regression. And it means that we want to see values that are between that range of data from 10,001 to 19,599, right? Before we get to 20,000. If you notice here now, it has highlighted all the cells of interest that their bonus is between that range. So on our visual encoding now, we want to specify what we have. So let's specify what we have in our visual encoding so that our stakeholder will understand what we have really done in this particular analysis we have made. So it's going to be bonus, 15% bonus between $10,000 to $20,000. Right? Awesome. Very much awesome. So that is very well understood. Now, what about equal to? What about equal to? How can we utilize the equal to option or instruction in the data set too? So you come over here and maybe you are looking for a particular salary, a 15% bonus that is exactly 14,009 something, or exactly 8,675, exactly 10,519. So these are the things you might want to find in your rules while using conditional formatting. Just the way you can use the sum if, or the count if, or the average if, or even the index match, or the lookup and referencing other functions to find the salary, the 15% bonus that is actually or exactly the digits you are looking for. The same way you can still use conditional formatting to fish them out. So some situation whereby you want to use conditional formatting, if it is demanded, you go ahead. If it is for you to use the lookup functions to get it, no issues. So you see what this can do, this also can do similar thing. So here we are going to be looking at for 15% bonus that is equal to, say, 16,500, because we have it here in our column, 16,500. So I'm going to highlight the entire column data, and I'm going to choose equal to, I'm going to choose $16,500.00, and I'm going to fill it with the default green field with that green text only, and then I'll click OK. So here I have specified, I've looked out for the cells that is equal to 15,500. So let me rename this, type this word I have here. So 15% bonus between 10 times 20,000 is filled with yellow and dark yellow tests, right? Yellow and dark yellow tests. Then let us continue with the other options. So for this equal to, we are going to have it somewhere down below. So let's have something like this. So the equal to, we say that 15% bonus equal to $16,500 filled with, what color do we use again? Okay, filled with green and dark green text. Fine. So we have all this in check. So you see how we have used the conditional formatting rules to find them out. Now, let's say you don't want to stress yourself to start highlighting each column to see the rules made in them. For you to see the rules applying to all these columns of choice, you need to go to the Home tab once again and choose the conditional formatting from the stars ribbon control. Go to the Manage Rules option. That's the last option. And you see that it is already on the current selection, which is not what you are looking for. So we are going to say the worksheets. So you see, it has given us all the rules applied to this worksheet. So here you can delete a rule, like we said before, edit a particular rule, or create your own new rule. These are the rules we've made: cells equal to 16,500, cell values between 10,000 and 20,000, cell values greater than, less than 60,000, and cell values above 59,000. Right? So that are the rules that we have in this workbook. If you check in this worksheet, if you check for the customer's order sheet, that's the sheet before this sheet, there's no rule in it. If you check for sheet 1, there's no rule in it. These are the sheets in this workbook. But the only sheet that has a workbook selection is this particular worksheet you are dealing with, which is the employee record. All right. So this is how you can check out for the rules in a particular conditionally formatted column, conditionally formatted book, or data values. So now let us look into other rules of choice. We've treated the cell highlights rule, which we say are going to focus on just the first 4. This is for text that content. So we might want to still do this if we wish to. That will now be for us to utilize the column A to column D. So by default, I can say, okay, let me highlight everything that is in this particular column from A to D, and then place a conditional formatting for text that contains possibly A. Now, because all of them contains A, that is why it's selecting them apart from the ones that does not contain A. So let us leave it as it is and fill it with possibly let's use a red border to separate it. Yes. So red border is for cells that contains letter A. And you notice how it is showing us just what it is for cells that contains letter A. So we click OK. And we come to our visual encoding and says red border for cells that contains letter A. Right? That's our visual encoding. That is for text that contains. So if you are dealing with the customer's order sheet, you can still use the conditional formatting for rules such as a date occurring and for duplicate values. So if you want to set for duplicate values now, you might want to highlight the entire data and use conditional formatting and say duplicate values. So notice that it has given us duplicate values column wise. Now it is very wrong to use conditional formatting on duplicates because it's going to be looking for duplicates column wise, not row wise. The proper way to look for duplicates is row wise. That is why if you go to Advanced Excel Part 2 or Power Query, as the case may be, or even Power BI, you notice that you will see that the removing of duplicate occurs row wise, not column wise. All right, very, very important for us to understand that removing duplicate occurs row wise on a usual and proper data analysis. So it is wrong to use conditional formatting to fish out duplicates. What it does is to come in each column and look for duplicates in each of the columns. And that is a wrong practice. So we are not always going to conditional formatting to look for duplicates because it goes column wise. And imagine that out of entire data sets here, we have almost all of them with duplicates in the columns. So it's going to be an issue at the end of the day, right? So we don't encourage that at all. Now, the next rule we are going to be looking into for conditional formatting will be the top and bottom rules. Top and bottom rules. So we are going to be using that on the same highlights rules. So some highlights rules is where we're going to be using that top and bottom rule, right? Top and bottom rule. So we are the columns that we did not work with when we are doing the highlight cell rule, we are going to work with them in top and bottom rule. For the greater than, we are going to be looking at for the top 10% and bottom 10% of the greater of the 15% bonus. All right. So I'm going to highlight the column, go to conditional formatting, top and bottom cell rules. I'm looking at for the top 10% and bottom 10% all together. So top 10% first, I'm filling it with green fill with dark green text to separate it from the other green I have filled already. So I can still remove this from top 10% and I change it to maybe top 5%, right? I can still change it to top 2%, right? I can still do top 20%. So the choice is mine on what I want to achieve in this percentage I want to rank it from. but I want to focus on the main ranking of Excel, giving 10% of the items. So 10% is what you're formatting it with, a green field with dark green text. So format cells that rank in the top 10% with green field with dark green text. So click OK. So this is the cells that are 10% top. How about 10% bottom? We'll go back to conditional formatting again. Go to top / bottom rows and use bottom 10%. So this bottom 10% are going to maintain the original default color of light red field with dark red text and click OK. So you see we have two values that are above 10%, that's 16,500 and 15,665.55, and we have two that are below 10%. Right? So this is what we have in this regard. So this is going to be for top and bottom 10%. Right? Top and bottom 10%. That's going to be the title of this particular area. So for here, we're going to look at the bottom 10 item and top 10 item. So here will be and top and bottom 10 items, right? So that's what we are going to be focusing at for this next column. So it's, again, we highlight the column of choice, go to conditional formatting, go to top / bottom rows and choose top 10 items. We are now going to fill it with the custom field we used before. So go to custom formatting, the color will be white, while the field will be green, or let's say this shade of green, and then click OK. I think the color should maintain black so you can see it very well. So let's go back to font color and choose the color for font to be black and say OK. So that settles it for us. Then we click on OK. This tells us the top 10 items. We are formatting it with what? This color, and we click OK. Then on the same column, without leaving out the selection, you still go back to conditional formatting again, go back to the top / bottom rows, choose bottom 10 items. Now the bottom 10 items, you might want to color it with the format color or maybe red text, as the case may be. So red text is okay, and we click on OK. So this shows us the top bottom 10 items. We highlighted it with what? Red text. Now these calculations you did here is not your own headache to carry, because Excel has already determined it by seeing through the columns you have and understanding which value or item is top 10 or bottom 10, be it top 10% or bottom 10%, done the job for you. You don't need to stress so much. All you need to do is to follow the rules as it is, because you've given the rule and Excel have done the job for you. You don't need to start thinking about how did Excel know that this value is top 10? How do you know that this value is top bottom 10? Well, you can still go through by using your filter drop down, for instance, and then I think filter drop down will not apply to this particular circuit here. Then filter by color now. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Are you seeing it? To the top 10%, top 10 items, because they are high in percentage of bonus. Then filter by color again. We have, okay, let's filter by color. This guy is a filter by color. Filter by color should be this guy now, right? Font color, not fill color. I was using font fill color based on this color here, but should be font color, right? With font color. So font color, yes. So the font color, right? 1, that's 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So these are the bottom 10 items, while the previous one was the top 10 items. So you notice I have three filter colors here. First one was the cell color, right? These are the cell colors. What is the font color? So I was using the previous one. That was why I'm not seeing it. But now I use this guy, I'm not seeing it. So I'm going to clear filter from the 15% bonus. And I have back what I have. So you see, this is how we utilize the rules in conditional formatting to get what we want. But the next rule for conditional formatting will be the average, above average, and below average. I'm going to work on that for the between columns. So this will be between and above and below average. Above and below average. So that's what we have. So for here now, we are going to be using the above and below average for the salary column in this regard. So we click to select all. We are using first off, we are using the above average. And for anyone above average, Excel asks what color do we want to put it. And because we already have a default color, let's choose a different color for ourselves. So let's go to custom formats and choose a field of choice, maybe any field that is within that rate of shade. Now, if you don't have any color here, let's say you don't have any color, the colors you are looking for are not here, you can just click on more colors and you have the hexagonal standard color for you. Or you can still go to custom here, you have this particular color swatch for you. Now, this color swatch is always handy for those who have companies that have their perfect color code. So you can then put the color code in RGB here, red, green, and blue, and the hex code here as well. Or you can change it to be HSL. The case remains that we must use RGB because most company color codes or color fields or colors is always an RGB. So we choose RGB, put down the hex code, and we're good to go. But in situation whereby you don't have any particular color code you're working with, you want to just choose a random number, and you are not seeing the number you want to choose on the usual background color here, this small colors is your go-to, which will get you to this particular box. So you're using the standard, and we're choosing a shade from red. So the shade from green will help us to achieve this. So we're choosing a shade from green, not actually the first green we use or the lighter one we use, but a different shade altogether. And this is okay by us. We click OK. And the font color should remain just black so that it can be visible. And we click OK. So here we say format cells that are above average for the selected range with what? This kind of fill colors. All right. And we click on OK. And the next is to format cells that are below average. So those below average will still be a red color, but a different kind of red. So let's go to the format custom, go to the fill and choose a shade of red, which is on the more colors. A shade of red might be this shade of red or that shade of red. That depends. So you want to get a lighter shade of red. Okay, let's go with this and click OK. And the fill color should be, the font color should be white because the fill is already a different shade of red. So for us to see what we are looking for or the text inside the cell, we should have your white color background. So we click on OK and we have this, right? Then this means that we have formatted cells that are below average for the selected range with these particular colors of choice for the cells. And we click OK. So you see how you're assigning rules to all the columns and the values within the columns to tell you that conditional formatting is amazing because afterwards you see that this has created a kind of heat map for your data set. If you use this on a entire range of data, for instance, this data set we have here for the employee record, you notice that when we apply these conditions in the salary, bonus, and maybe the zip column, it will give what is like a heat map. A heat map is different swatches, different tints different shades of color. So that point whereby the color is thicker is where the situation is very much handy or very much strong. When the color, where the color is lighter, is where the situation is very much mild, right? Very much mild. So we are saying that for you to form a heat map, you have to work with at least one color and different shades of that color, or two colors and different shades of that color. That is why if you look at some health data that they are talking about or visualizing about map, they tend to tell you which region has the highest effect of a particular pandemic or a particular contagious disease. They'll use one color but different shades, telling us that the lighter shade of this is this, lighter shade of that is this, or two colors but different shades. So that is the wonderful thing about conditional formatting. You can use it to create heat maps. Heat maps cannot come their own way. It is made from conditions. That's conditional formatting. So let's now do for the last time. We have done for top 10% and bottom 10%. We've also done for top 10 items and bottom 10 items. We've also done for above average and below average. Now let us look at data bars. For the column of equal to, let us check out for data bars that can help us to see some important things according to the trends and patterns in our data. So let's go to data bars. So for this column now, you're only focusing on the salary column for the equal to. So this is going to be equal to and the data bars, right? So we highlight the salary and then go to conditional formatting once again, choose data bars. So you might want to choose a gradient fill bar. Notice the difference for the gradient fill bar and see solid fills. See the difference, right? So the difference between these kind of bars. Some persons will prefer to use solid fill, while some others will prefer to use gradient fill, like myself. So I always like to use gradient fill. So I use gradient fill, or I can still select through. Now, this gradient fill now is these data bars here, as well as the color scales, are on the default color, default rules. So we don't know the rule Excel using here. Hence, you must select your own rule. Same thing with the icon set. We don't know the rule Excel is using here in the icon set as well, right? We don't know the rule, but we can actually go with the rating for here. This is when you are working on a rating data set, maybe employee rating, and you want to rate them accordingly. You don't want to use more of functions. You can just use the ratings to do the needful, right? That would be wonderful, all right? So now we want to focus on data bars, which will be the last we're going to look into for the conditional formatting. Now we are using gradient fill, but we don't know the rule. But we don't know the rule Excel has used for the gradient fill. So for us to input our own rule, we go to the more rules. Now these more rules will help us to see the rule Excel is using. Here, Excel tries to use a data bar, which is okay. If you say show bar only, no problem. But the minimum is automatic and maximum is automatic. Which value, if it's automatic, no value, right? Because by default, Excel will do it by itself. Then the bar appearance is what you are having here, and the preview is also showing here. But here, we want to use our own rule. That's why you go to the new rules, all right? If you are to leave Excel to do the needful by itself, we don't know what rule it is using to achieve this. We don't know. So let's say that we mistakenly use this rule and we want to apply our own rule for this. What do we do to do that? We go to manage rule. So we select the entire cell in the column again, go back to conditional formatting and click on manage rule. So we want to manage this rule because the current selection. Let's manage the rule. So we click on it and click on edit rule. Here we are going to choose our rule. The minimum is automatic, the maximum is automatic. So we want to use our own minimum maximum as we know it to be. So we might say that salaries for this particular employee record, anyone that is being paid 50K is minimum. Maximum is 100K. So let's see how it goes. So we cover here in the minimum type, the fonts. Let's just read what you have. It says, format all cells based on their values. Format cell type. We are using what? Data bar. not color scale, but data bar, not icon scale, okay? We are not using show bar only. No, we want it to be a gradient. So we come over here and then choose our type. So our type is going to be the lowest value. So you see lowest value, number, percent, formula, percentile. So lowest value is what we are looking for. And here highest value, right? That's what you are looking for. But might say, okay, a percentage, maybe let's say values of percentage of say 10%, and then another percentage of say 100%. So the choice is ours, depending on the kind of rule you want to give to the column. But in this part of the data, we are looking at the highest and the lowest, okay? If it was the percentage column, now we say, let us do it by percent. But because we're dealing with salary, we're going to do this highest salary and the lowest salary. That's highest value and lowest value. Then what is the appearance of the bar? That's the next. When we choose this highest, lowest, you can't do anything here, as you can see. But we choose percent, or choose number, or you choose formula, you can actually change the value you wish to change in the for value field box. But when you choose lowest, or choose percentile, or choose automatic, you cannot actually format anything in this value field box. But when you choose other ones such as number, percent, formula, and percentile, then you can actually do your own formatting of the value field. We are focusing on just lowest value and highest value, so let's continue. Bar appearance, the field is gradient field, obviously, not solid field. So you're working with gradient field, and the color is green color, which is okay by us. Then solid border is okay by us. So all these are all okay by us. The only thing we need to do is to change the types to be lowest value and highest value. Then we click OK. Are you seeing it now? Then click Apply. Now it has changed. Some values have changed here, right? Then we click OK. So you see, we have assigned our own rule. By lowest value, we say lowest value in this column. Highest value, we say highest value in this column. So anyone that it is to give us what we want. For this particular column of salary, the lowest value in column of salary is what? The lowest value is what? 47,211. While the highest is 110,000. So you see it here. Now we go to 47,211. Notice that there is nothing or less in the color bar. The highest is fully filled, right? So that is how you utilize conditional formatting and analysis, making sure you find your trend, spot the patterns, and understand what happens in your data set. Also help you to create heat maps in your data sets. Going forward, we are going to be looking into other advanced Excel functions that we use in analysis, which is the data validation and the split to column. With these two on check, we are now certain that we have finished Advanced Excel Part 1. Thank you very much for joining the call today. I really appreciate it. See you on the next class next week. Bye-bye.